My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from the Oval Office. We need to get dark money. That's that hidden funding behind too many campaigns contributions. We need to get it out of our politics. We need to ban members of Congress from trading stock while they're in the Congress.
Senator Hawley introduced legislation that would ban members of Congress from owning or trading individual stocks. It extends to the president and the vice president. Are you in favor of that legislation?
Well, I like it conceptually. I don't know about it, but I like it conceptually. And, you know, Nancy Pelosi became rich by having inside information. She made a fortune with her husband, and I think that's disgraceful. Conceptually, I like it. And what I do think is Nancy Pelosi should be investigated, because she has the highest return of anybody practically in the history of Wall Street.
That makes two presidents, and one of the only things that they agree on, pushing for a ban on congressional stock trading. So why? Well, it seems like the crux of the issue is the Congress people, that they're the ones trading the stocks. If you think about it, these are the people who legislate corporations. These are the people who have confidential information about the state of the economy. And they're trading stocks. According to broad public sentiment, that's cheating. But while there's plenty of people that are up in arms about this and plenty of congressmen that trade stocks, there seems to be one main focus: Nancy Pelosi. As of the turn of the decade, she's become the public's de facto face for insider trading while in Congress. But what actually happened? How much did the Pelosi's actually make? Do these allegations hold, or is this just an opposition dog whistle? Is Nancy Pelosi actually insider trading while in Congress? Or, and I'm just putting this out there, is this scandal something worse? A distraction from the real corruption that's plaguing both sides of our political parties in the most powerful government in the world? Let's find out. Let's start by following the money. Now, we know that Nancy Pelosi makes around $200,000 for her congressional salary, but her net worth is around $256 million. That's a big difference. So let's break it down. To start, a large share of this wealth comes from real estate and ownership interest. The ownership interest being in some small companies, including one that the Pelosi's founded called Financial Leasing Services Incorporated. Otherwise, most of that money is in stocks. But let's focus on this. There's $3 million in options. These leveraged bets are pretty much the source of every single Pelosi controversy. These are trades often placed at suspicious times in companies that Nancy Pelosi might legislate. So, did they cheat their way to their literal hoard of riches? Well, as wild as that would be, I don't think they did. At least, not all of it. Meet Paul Pelosi. He's responsible for every single trade that the Pelosi's make, and most of their wealth. He's the one who founded Financial Leasing Services Incorporated. Now, in 2005, the Pelosi's net worth was estimated at between $14 and $55 million. In 2025, they have $256 million. That's between a 15.36% return and an 8% return year over year. Let's put that metric into perspective for you guys. Depending on which net worth figure you use, the Pelosi's either massively outperformed the market by nearly 2.5 times or underperformed it by about 37%. The wide range in their reported 2005 net worth makes a huge difference in the story. It's the difference between exceptional, market-beating returns and modest underperformance. But we have to contextualize this, right? Paul's been under scrutiny since 1987 when Nancy first ran for Congress. Harry Britt, Nancy's opponent at the time, hired a private detective to look into their wealth. At the time, they found nothing, but Paul noticed. "They've been trying to get me," he said. So he knew then that he had to keep his business completely separate from Nancy Pelosi's politics, right? Unfortunately, wrong. 2020, that's when everything changes. A spree of options trades right after COVID turned Nancy in the public's eye from the most progressive champion Democrat to the most corrupt politician in Congress. So let's talk about the trades. In January of 2021, Paul Pelosi disclosed a very bullish bet on Tesla. According to disclosures, he purchased up to $1 million in Tesla call options. Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, that's a great question, and I don't know the answer, so I went to a better source. This guy literally worked for a hedge fund, and he's about to tell you what a call option is.
An option trade is a good way to make a lot of money with very little money down. The problem is that there's often a good chance that you lose all of your investment, which doesn't generally happen in regular stocks. When you buy a call option, you have the right to buy a stock at a predetermined price, which is defined by the options contract. That price is called the strike price. So I have the right to buy Nvidia for $100 that is now $180. If I exercise it now, I get $180 worth of stock, and I pay $100 now, so I make a kind of a net profit of $80, right? These are the sorts of bets where you can bet very directly on an event that's coming up. You know, you can multiply your initial investment by a factor of 10, 50, 100 or more.
Okay, so let's come back. It's December 22nd, 2020. Nancy's in DC, consumed with Trump's election claims and a COVID stimulus battle. January 6th is just a few weeks away. Paul, however, is thinking about Biden's new EV promise.
They're a vision of the future that is now beginning to happen. A future of the automobile industry that is electric, and there's no turning back.
And now we know what that plan was. Biden's infrastructure plan would allocate $174 billion for electric vehicles. It included federal fleet conversions, charging networks, and Tesla, as America's biggest EV manufacturer, stands to benefit massively. Now, did Paul know the specifics? Did he know the timing? That the federal fleet announcement would push Tesla's stock up? Or was he simply betting on the obvious, that a Democratic administration would push hard for EVs? We don't know. What we do know is that Paul buys $1 million in Tesla call options on December 22nd. On January 25th, just a little bit over a month later, Biden makes a big old announcement. All government vehicles will be American-made electric vehicles. Tesla stock, as America's biggest EV manufacturer, jumps 10% in January alone. The timing was great. Too great. Because if Tesla raised eyebrows, what comes next would start setting off alarms. Now, in March 2021, Paul Pelosi is sitting on some Microsoft call options that he bought in February 2020. These have strike prices of $130 and $140. On March 19th, Microsoft closes at $230 per share. So, when Paul exercises his options, he gets $5.75 million worth of Microsoft for a cool $3.35 million. That's a $2.4 million unrealized gain, minus, of course, what he paid for the premium on those options. And this is all before the news hits.
Microsoft has won a contract to build more than 120,000 HoloLens augmented reality headsets for the U.S. Army, and this contract could be worth up to $22 billion.
By April 5th, the stock had rocketed from $230 to $249. Paul's position had jumped to 6.23 million. Now, Fox did not pull punches. Worse, this kind of thing is resonating with conservative audiences. It's a media crisis for the Pelosi's. Pelosi mobilizes her colleagues to come to her defense, telling Fox Business it seems unlikely that Paul had information beyond public knowledge, since the fact that they're working on a piece of legislation would be public information. But you know that if you're Paul Pelosi, this is a moment of reckoning. These trades are destroying your family's reputation. They're also making you millions of dollars. So when it comes down to it, you know that it's a very simple risk versus reward scenario. But Paul's an options trader, all right? Paul doesn't mind a little risk. His next move will be the most controversial of them all. Critics call Paul's Nvidia trades the most egregious trading in government history. Sympathizers say it was a lucky bet in an industry that the government would clearly prioritize. Either way, it's July 2021. Paul Pelosi starts buying Nvidia call options on July 2nd and July 23rd, plus 5,000 regular shares. His wife is in DC. She's working on an early version of the CHIPS Act, designed to support American semiconductor production. On July 28th, the House passed H.R. 4346 to fund domestic chip manufacturing. Nancy, following Speaker tradition, doesn't vote, but she knows this is a massive step for the semiconductor industry. A bet on Nvidia 5 days before the news, that's pretty good timing. But just wait, it's June 2022. Paul exercises his Nvidia options, and he now owns 25,000 Nvidia shares. The CHIPS Act is racing through Congress with $66 billion in subsidies for chips manufacturers. Nvidia, America's AI champion, stands to benefit massively. But then, on July 26th, something unexpected happens. Paul sells everything, all 25,000 shares, with a loss of $341,365. The very next day, the Senate passes the CHIPS Act 64-33.
Indeed, because of the remarkable accomplishments of everyone here, the CHIPS and Science Act is an historic achievement, returning American semiconductor production to world leadership status.
The optics are terrible. It looks like Nancy gave Paul a call, told him that the trade was too hot. Drew Hamill, Nancy Pelosi's spokesperson, claims Paul decided to sell the shares at a loss rather than allow misinformation in the press to continue. But that feels like an admission of guilt, right? They obviously talked about the trades. Paul's solo trading act isn't so solo when it starts backfiring, apparently. And Nancy initially opposed banning congressional trading.
Should members of Congress and their spouses be banned from trading individual stocks while serving in Congress?
No, I don't know to the second one. We are a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that.
But after fierce bipartisan backlash, of course, Nancy backtracked. But walking away from one profitable trade doesn't really mean anything if you keep trading, right? And of course, Paul Pelosi files his next trade August 24th. Over the next few years, every Paul Pelosi trade makes headlines, okay? On July 2023, Paul sells 5,000 Microsoft shares worth $2.1 million. 4 months later, the FTC opens a massive antitrust investigation into Microsoft's cloud computing and AI divisions. The stock crashes, but Paul's already out. July 2024, Paul dumps 2,000 Visa shares worth up to $1 million. 85 days later, the DOJ drops a bombshell antitrust lawsuit against Visa for illegally monopolizing debit cards. There was zero public indication this was coming, and Visa stock dropped 5.5%. Paul has been out for 3 months. It's November 2024. Nancy gets reelected, spending $11 million for a 2024 election.
After 36 years in Congress, Nancy Pelosi says her job is not done yet, and she plans to stick around for at least another 2 years.
But nobody cares about the money she's getting from corporate donors. Not anymore. They're obsessed with the trades. January 2025, things explode again. Paul buys 50 call options in Tempus AI at a $20 strike price. 7 days later, 7 days, Tempus AI announces Olivia, a AI health app connecting over 1,000 health systems. This is revolutionary stuff that sends the stock price soaring. The disclosure goes public January 25th, and by Friday's close, Tempus has exploded 183%. The California Congresswoman's reputation creates a buying frenzy. Now, would Paul have known about the Olivia announcement? Even with his wife in government, it's hard to say, but nobody cares, really. People just wanted to copy Pelosi. So let's talk about copy Pelosi. Does that actually work? Well, to start, there's multiple companies who do it, right? Multiple ways to automate it, so we do have to be careful. Pelosi's trades are complex. You can't just copy these trades one-to-one like you could a stock holding, right? These are options trades. And a lot of copy trading methods don't really take that into account. Dub Advisors, Dub's registered investment advisor who shares their portfolios on the Dub app, does.
With $100 and one tap of the button, you can copy the trades of our famous politicians like Nancy Pelosi.
Dub Advisors has an ex-millennium trader that uses an algorithm to translate Pelosi's options trades into basic stocks that you can buy. The Dub Advisors Pelosi portfolio has tens of thousands of copiers and boasts tens of millions of dollars in copying capital. Crucially, it trades completely automatically. Its copiers get the same price and timing as the portfolio creator. But the success of a model trading portfolio doesn't necessarily indicate that Paul is cheating. At the end of the day, we're still left with the real question. Are the insider trading allegations real? Now, we've taken a really close look at the specific trades and the controversial timing behind them, but what we don't have is a zoomed out perspective on the full trading history of the Pelosis. So I reached out to somebody who had really done the analysis. I reached out to the guy who runs the Pelosi portfolio through Dub Advisors.
Congress people often tend to invest in kind of their hometown or local champions. Nancy Pelosi is in the Bay Area, and so her local stocks are Nvidia and other stocks that have soared. Yeah, the Pelosi herself has a lot of information that other people don't have. We can't know what she's doing. A lot of her trading is the stuff that anybody or anyone who is like really into the tech sector might do, only with more risk and leverage, which makes sense because she's super rich. That said, there are trades that she's done that broke that pattern, like the Tempus AI trade. Pelosi's options trading is aggressive, but it's not the kind of aggressive you would do if you were really like trying to exploit insider information in a big way.
Now we have to understand, the Pelosi insider trading narrative exploded for two reasons. Number one, Paul trades like a stock market wizard. Number two, these records are all public. According to the Stock Act, every single trade must be disclosed within 45 days. It's the one window of transparency we have into politicians' finances. But here's what nobody's talking about. This transparency is a double-edged sword. We can't prove that Paul's trading on insider information. What we do know is that politicians get rich from something. After all, almost half of Congress is worth over $1 million, and many of them became millionaires during their time in government. So we know that legal corruption actually does exist. Campaign donations, lobbying, revolving doors. Stock trading is just the one thing that we can actually see publicly. And that is why Congress is totally fine with this being a scandal. They're even happy to talk about it.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley reigniting his push for the Pelosi Act, which would ban members of Congress from trading and holding stock. Senator Hawley joins us this morning. Good morning to you.
Nobody would like people to do trading. We've watched Nancy Pelosi. Seems like she's figured out how to make a fortune off of trading.
Because we are united by the value that people should feel that their elected representative puts them and their interests first.
Think about it. Politicians from both parties suddenly start pushing for a congressional stock trading ban. And these guys don't get along with literally anything. Republicans paint Democrats as corrupt. Democrats, they get on board. We'll support the ban too. The bill gets introduced, nothing gets passed. Years go by, insider trading remains the focus. Think about all the money in politics, the campaign donations from corporations that can fund huge amounts of attack ads on primary candidates that they don't like. But we're focused on Nancy Pelosi's insider trading. So let's answer the question, is Nancy Pelosi actually insider trading? Maybe, but does it actually matter? Remember, this is the issue. This is the specific form of corruption that they're okay with us talking about. So take some time to think. What don't they want you talking about? Oh, what a video.